Of course. There we go. Denver Broncos Mile High View, no commercials. We're not going to give you the bullshit. We're not telling you that the Denver Broncos are now Super Bowl bound. It is not really official yet, the hiring of Mike Shanahan, or I mean Sean Payton. But this is Mike Shanahan goes to Washington. Mr. Shanahan goes to Washington, the sequel. And me and Bucket Man have been talking about the parallels of the Washington Redskins hire of Mike Shanahan and the Denver Broncos hiring of Sean Payton. First of all, I just want to say that to the people that are going to say, you're negative. I would have been definitely excited about this this pickup if the Denver Broncos would have been in the position for a coach like him. If we could have kept Teddy Bridgewater, if we could have kept all our draft capital, if we had something to build off of, with a coach like Payton. But it has all the earmarks of a franchise that's desperate, like Washington was when they brought Mike Shanahan in with all the promises. And Mike Shanahan had what I think will be a staff that there's no way that Sean Payton will ever be able to match. But I also want to say this too, that everybody's caught up on who said Sean Payton was going to come here. You have the people that said Bill Belichick was going to come here. At the same time, they said Harbaugh was going to come here. At the same time, they said the guy from San Francisco was going to come here. The everybody's going to be here crowd. Yeah, they got it right, because guess what? They included Sean Payton with about 5 other coaches who are guaranteed to be here. And had New Orleans not capitulated for whatever the reason, I mean, let's face it, New Orleans, the front office, they took a page right from Seattle, and they dug their heels in, and they got a lot for Sean Payton that a lot of people didn't think. And I knew that that's what was holding up the Sean Payton. Sean Payton came out wanting to get bribed long before even Hackett was fired. He was making it clear that he thinks, like Mike Shanahan, the ego, that it was all him. That it was all him. He did it all himself in New Orleans, like Mike Shanahan thought he did it all himself with the Denver Broncos. But I feel that we are going down a similar path with Payton. The Washington Redskins went down with Mike Shanahan. It's very eerily similar. And we have, we talked to somebody, an insider with the Saints, or that knows the Saints very well, just put it that way. And we're going to bring things to the table nobody else is going to bring, because if you want to hear the Broncos are going to the Super Bowl, get the pom-poms out, let's fire up the Kool-Aid machine again, this isn't going to be the podcast for you. But if you want a voice of reason, a second, a second opinion, like going to a doctor and then getting a second opinion, and why we think this and where we're coming from. And again, we're the ones that always seem to get it right. All the time, like, 99%. And yes, I said Sean Payton would be here if they could bribe him, if New Orleans would, agree to whatever the Broncos were going to give for him, that Sean Payton could be bribed, is what I said. And that would bring him here. So, and again, if Sean Payton, if New Orleans didn't green light that, let me ask you, Mr. Bucket Man, who would have the Broncos got had they the New Orleans Saints? I think you need to thank is not the people that's told you he was coming. You need to thank the New Orleans front office for allowing the deal to go through. So,
well, let me just respond to everything you said there. So I'm going to come out and say I was wrong about this Sean Payton thing. I'm not going to hide from that. I was completely wrong about this whole Sean Payton going to Denver. I thought he would actually stay at Fox Sports, wait another year, wait for a better opportunity to arise. Obviously, I was wrong on that. I'm not too afraid to admit that. Number two, for the fans and the people that said that they were right and we were wrong, I could give less of a shit whether they were right or wrong. I don't care less, because right now I'm not focused on them. I'm focused on the draft. Time out. I'm better than that, and I'm not gonna stoop to their level. I got things coming up. I got the Senior Bowl coming up. I got the Shrine Bowl coming up. I got scouting I got to do. I got my coaching career I got to start doing. I could give less of a shit whether they were right or wrong, or whether they would like to make fun of us. I could care fucking less. Okay. Number three, the person I thought would be here would be Scott Frost. I mean, Scott Frost, my number one pick. I've been saying it all along. Scott Frost was my number one guy. I thought he would be coming here to rejuvenate this Broncos offense, an offense we've never seen before, bringing in that no-huddle spread offense a la Chip Kelly when he was with the Philadelphia Eagles. So Scott Frost would have been my number one choice.
Okay, so we are, in my opinion, we're now, we got stuck with Russell Wilson. Now we're getting stuck with Sean Payton. And I just want to talk about the Saints. I want to talk about how that translates to the Broncos. And I'm going to start off with this. I again, like I said, this is like history repeating itself. Mr. Shanahan goes to Washington, all the hope, all the excitement, and how it started out so wonderful, and then, boop. I want to start out by saying I believe Sean Payton is working, has to work in a sandbox. That this is what you got, and you can't, unlike Shanahan, you can't go out of this sandbox, at least not very much anyway. That these are the parameters, and it's basically was created by the trust, first of all, and now by this ownership. I just don't see with all the cap space problems, unlike any other team. This isn't like, they can move things around. Yeah, normal teams can do that. The Broncos are not in a normal situation in the draft or with cap space by any stretch. And it seems to me, it's like, Sean, you're paid to work in this box. You're not allowed to go out of it, even if you wanted to, because you're constrained with the player personnel and whoever you can get there to come to the Broncos. And like I said, Shanahan had a coaching staff like no other, and they still couldn't get this done. It seems like this Sean Payton is going to be limited in a lot of things that he can do as a coach. What would you have to say about that?
Well, I've been saying it all along. The Broncos do not have the player personnel that stacks up around the National Football League. That's why they 5-12, and that's why they went 1-6 in their division. Again, we will get into it later about the offensive schematics, the defensive schematics that he will bring here. But again, Sean Payton wasn't the architect of that whole thing. It was Mickey Loomis and Jeff Ireland. And if you guys go and actually go do some research, and I encourage everybody, I will put this in the comment section so you guys go read the backgrounds of a guy like Mickey Loomis and Jeff Ireland. Those were the guys that started to get this offense going started to get this team going with player personnel. They started in bringing in player personnel that fit Sean Payton's schematics and the defensive schematics that he wanted to run in New Orleans. The problem I have with this whole entire thing, I think Sean Payton, in my personal opinion, I believe Sean Payton is a really good offensive mind, but with the right player personnel.
So,
by that, with the right player personnel, just like Andy Reid, just like Brian Dable, just like all these other offensive coaches, Sean McVay, Matt LaFleur, all these coaches, you have to have a specific type of player personnel that fits their schematics, that can elevate their play on the offensive side of the ball. And I just don't believe, in my personal opinion, when I look at the Broncos offensive roster, that they have the player personnel that stacks up to what Sean Payton wants to run. A la Russell Wilson's a perfect example. He is not a Drew Brees-esque quarterback. He's not. He doesn't get the ball out quick. You have to do, this is what Russell Wilson is. And I've done film review after film review after film review. And so is this man right here on Denver Broncos Mile High View / Hard Liquor Broncos on his BitJute channel. We have done so many film reviews of what Russell Wilson is. And the fact is,
and what he's not.
And what he is not. But the fact is he is a one-read quarterback. He holds onto the ball way too long. He doesn't read and assess the field really good.
Anti-Drew Brees. He's the anti-Drew Brees.
Yes, he's anti-Drew Brees. And you have to have plays that are designed for him to get the ball downfield. That's what we saw in Seattle. Seattle was so good at scheming up boot action plays, getting receivers open, and all of their receivers in Seattle were a lot better than the receivers we have here in Denver. That is proven. You need to have plays that are designed for players to get open and for Russell Wilson to take those easy shots. That's why I believe the West Coast zone run principles, the bootleg action plays, are better for him than what Sean Payton's going to bring here. But I'll let you continue what you were saying. We will get into that later.
Okay, what I want to get into is the Broncos believe there's something they're not. That's part of the problem. They have put out their meat out time and time again, pumping these players up who aren't on the level, like you said, as these heavyweight contenders. They're just not. And they believe their own bullshit. And I think, again, that he's brought in to work in a sandbox. He's not allowed to, or even if he wanted to, it's going to be difficult because of all the other restrictions to get out of that sandbox. And then you got on top of that, the quarterback you're hamstrung with. I just want to say this. When Mike Shanhan went to the Washington Redskins, everybody thought, well, he did everything in Denver on his own. He was the architect of everything. They didn't take under consideration that Mike Shanahan had Bobby Turner, who he was the guy that brought in Terrell Davis. John Beek brought in the free agents, and that Alex Gibbs put that stellar offensive line together. And then they made the adjustment. They had the people on the defensive player personnel, but far exceeds anything that Denver has. So, like I said, first, he's got to come up with trying to talk people even just to come here and deal with this mess. Because like you said, you were talking Mike Menchek and all this other stuff. Anybody you're bringing in is going to know. And I said, it didn't matter which coach, whether you brought in Sean Payton or not. Every coach the head coach is going to have to be faced with the prospect of having to tell an offensive coordinator that you are going to probably be the guy whose head's in the noose. If things go, if we can't fix Russell Wilson, it's probably going to fall on you, because they're not going to fire Payton. He's got the big contract. They can't get rid of at least for 2 years anyway. Really, people like to say 1, but really 2. They can't get rid of Russell Wilson. So you're coming here with the idea that you'll probably get fired if this knee-jerk reaction. See, this is the problem. The front office, they don't think. They don't. It's big, splashy moves, just like Washington Redskins with Snyder. You'll get Shanahan, big, but with no thought process behind it. I said that the best coach to come to the Denver Broncos, it had nothing to do with names. It had to do with what you just said. How do you get the most out of Russell Wilson or the system? And we're going to get into the system with, anyway, let me just say this too. Whatchamacallit didn't work in a vacuum. Sean Payton did not work in a vacuum. You mentioned it yourself, Ireland and
Mickey Loomis.
And Mickey Loomis, as we were talking to the Saint fans about, I just want to give a little history here because this is really important for context. Like the Broncos, right before Sean Payton was hired, they had multiple owners. And it was just one talk. It was one a big mess. They had all these different people in charge, everybody talking over the other. And finally, the majority shareholder bought out the other people and said, Mickey Loomis, you are the go-to guy. In this case, that would be George Payton, but we know obviously he's just a puppet. You're the go-to guy. There's just one person. You are the guy that's directing everything on down. It wasn't Sean Payton. And Ireland and them said, look, you to Sean Payton, you keep getting these offensive toys and it's not panning out. We've got to get, and I was looking at their draft, and they were hitting really good linemen. So they started to work on their lines. Yeah, they hit some good corners, but they on both sides of the line, they started to work on that. And I was just saying to you that everybody that's in the playoffs has been working on their line in some degree or another. Every one of them. This team has no belief system. They believe in magic wands, splash moves, PR, and like that's going to attract people. I think it's going to be very tough for Sean Payton to hire anybody worth a crap to come here that's not willing to get fired.
Yeah, I'm going to be really curious on the assistant coaches that he brings in. I'm going to be also very curious on what he installs for this offense and defense, because at the end of the day, in my personal opinion, I don't think in my personal opinion, the way I look at Mike Munchak, I don't believe he fits what Sean Payton wants to do offensively. He is Mike Munchak is more of that West Coast zone run principle offensive line coach. You can go back to his time with the Tennessee Titans, his time with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and also his time in Denver under Rich Scangarello and Vic Fangio. They were a West Coast zone run principle. Now you bring in a head coach in Sean Payton who runs a multi-power run spread concept scheme, and you expect Mike Munchak to fit in that equation.
He
doesn't fit in that equation. Again, it's putting a square peg in a round hole. I say that all the time. You cannot do that to these coaches. You cannot do that to these players. And another thing before I apologize, before I let you talk, again, all you people wanted to run out Mike Munchak. If you guys don't remember, you guys didn't want Mike Munchak to be here. You guys didn't want Vic Fangio to be here. Now, all of a sudden, you want them back. That doesn't make any logical common sense at all. It doesn't make any sense at all to me. They don't fit what Sean Payton wants to do offensively and defensively. I'm sorry, that's just the facts.
Well, this is the deal, is that we were in conversation with someone very close to the Saints, and we were talking about concepts. So why don't you explain, because you've been breaking film down as usual, unlike these other people. What have you seen conceptualize of the offense that both, whether it's Winston or whether it's Brees, that Payton was doing in New Orleans?
Okay, so what Sean Payton liked to do is he liked to run the football. He really liked to run the football in certain aspects of the offense. But then there are other aspects of the offense that he liked to do 4 to 5 wide receiver sets, do a lot of post concepts, try to get the safeties down the split safety looks. It's more of a mismatch of systems, basically. You have a multi-power run system that he really likes to run with, because our source in New Orleans was saying that he used to have a 1-2 punch, Thunder and Lightning, Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara, Latavius Murray. I don't think Latavius Murray is the running back he used to be. I mean, I would have been more excited if you got Latavius Murray during the Teddy Bridgewater. I mean, this would have made a lot more sense, to your point, if we got Sean Payton during the Teddy Bridgewater days, because you have the draft capital, you have the cap space, you could have done whatever you want.
Quarterback, obviously.
Well, you had a quarterback. You had a quarterback, in my personal opinion, you had a quarterback in Teddy Bridgewater that read the field better than Russell Wilson can. That is my opinion. Film shows that. The all 22 film shows that. Now, let's break down the offense for the New Orleans Saints under Drew Brees and Sean Payton specifically, because that's what I wanted to go back and look at. Number one, their offensive line was elite. Okay. They had Armstead before he went to the Miami Dolphins. They had Andrew Peets, who they still have from Stanford. They drafted and developed him. They had Eric McCoy from Texas A&M, who they drafted and developed. Cesar Uriz from Michigan, who they drafted and developed. And the guy that I wanted over Garrett Bowles, Ryan Ramczyk, who they paid him, and he's an all-pro right tackle. Okay, he is an elite
real
right
tackle, not
yeah,
he
he is a top 5 right tackle. He is a top 5 right tackle in this league. Now,
no, Bowles is top 5. Bowles is top 5.
No, he's not. He's not top 5.
In the same universe as Ramczyk.
No, he's not top 5. Now you look at the receiver positions. You look at the skill position players. They had guys that were able to separate. They had guys that were able to get to that post second level concepts. Again, when we're thinking about Russell Wilson, and this goes to my Russell Wilson point, where Sean Payton, if you're going to do this, you need to run the multi-power run concept scheme. You need to run the ball and play action pass off of that. Get those post routes, get those routes on the sideline or whatever you got to do, those 10-yard out routes, those 10-yard in routes. But again, when you look at the difference between a Russell Wilson and a Drew Brees had great awareness of the field. He had elite awareness. He was able to get the ball out quick. He was able to read the field with exceptional ease. He was able to do things that Russell Wilson, I believe, cannot do.
He cannot do. No.
And I'm not saying Russell Wilson is a shitty player. I don't believe in the right system. Russell Wilson can do things that is very, very good. But again, in this system specifically that I believe Sean Payton wants to bring over, I don't think that Russell Wilson can do the things that a Drew Brees could do, even a Jameis Winston can do, even an Andy Dalton can do in terms of what they want to do offensively. Now, you also had a guy in Alvin Kamara, who I am a big fan of Alvin Kamara. I love Alvin Kamara. That guy is an all-around running back. He is a guy, in my personal opinion, that the Denver Broncos need. You do have Javonte Williams, but I think you need that extra piece at the running back position, like an Alvin Kamara that can catch the ball out of the backfield, that is an elusive running back that can hit that hole and go, that can do the stretch plays, but also you need that guy that can line out into the slot. For instance, this is another example. You have the Dallas Cowboys who have Tony Pollard, who is eerily similar to Alvin Kamara. They line him out in the slot. They line him out in the backfield. But the problem is this is what worries me about Sean Payton. Now I talked about the good. This is what worries me about Sean Payton. There were a lot of times where they were in third and long situations, and they would run 5-yard slant routes. There was a lot of situations they would not go to the first down marker. They would do a 5-yard out route towards the sideline and not hit the first down yard marker. You also had instances where you didn't have extra protection for Drew Brees or Jameis Winston, and that would get them killed. They would just put the quarterback in no man's land, do a lot of empty sets with the quarterback, and do a lot of spread concepts. So I think what you're going to see, in my personal opinion, is a lot of spread concepts, and I'm hoping to God that they go with the multi-power run, because if you're going to go with the West Coast zone run scheme and apply that with the spread concept, I don't believe that is going to work to the degree that they think it's going to work at. Go ahead.
I want to go back to Sean Payton and Ireland and Loomis. They put a leash on Sean Payton. They got him to become line set. They said, no, we got to get linemen here. We got to get this line situated. I think that the reason, and what we were told by a Saints insider, because people say, oh, he went to the Saints and helped build that. He did. First of all, there was a leash on him. And it was a leash to stop getting these offensive toys and start getting line centric. After that, it took off, as it always does for every team. Look at the playoffs. Just a hint. And then you have this insider also telling us that Sean Payton, doesn't want to be in a building. He wants it already there because you know what I think? Again, just like Mike Shanahan, he didn't do it alone. He wants something already that he doesn't have to, and he's and he wanted the big money too. So yeah, the Broncos probably aren't that in that great of a situation. I'll take the money. I'm guaranteed. If it works out, it works out. That's the problem I see with this whole thing. Because he came out, like I said before, Nathaniel Hackett saying, "I want to be paid. I want to be paid." Well, buddy, you weren't the only one who was the architect of what went down in Saint country. They had to put a leash on you to bring in offensive linemen. So, like I said, if he comes in and gets with Russell Wilson, and both Russell Wilson and the coach, think that he's Drew Brees, you can mark my word. Go ahead. You said it right here. I'll put the time code on this time code because I'm saying it now. If they think this is going to be Drew Brees back there, you said empty sets, all this nonsense, and they want to get away from running and they want to get into Shermer ball, 2.0, Mike McCoy 3.0, whatever, bombs away, just chuck it, just chuck it, just chuck it. It's going to go in flames before it ever gets off the ground. You can mark my word on that. But like you said, if they realize who they have as a quarterback and what they have to do and their limitations there, if they can get line-centric a bit. I have a feeling, I was looking up before we went on, I wanted to see wide receivers because I just got this feeling that they'll want to make a splashy move with a wide receiver. I just see it a mile away. The way this outfit, the way they all think over there, And again, I see them flooding the field with wide receivers that quite frankly, Russell Wilson doesn't survey the field. Guys running around.
Well, again, okay. So I'm sorry to interrupt you, but this is what I think. What I think should happen. This is what I would do if you're going to run the multi-power run scheme. I think Javonte Williams fits it perfectly, but I also think you need to maybe go and draft somebody, go get a guy on a cheap contract that can do the things that a Tony Pollard can do, that can go do things that an Alvin Kamara can do. I don't want to go get a Saquon Barkley. I don't want to even trade for Alvin Kamara. I think you need to go out and get a young up-and-coming guy that can emulate some of the skill sets that you had with Alvin Kamara. Also, there are other things that Sean Payton liked to do, and in our Saints insider that we like to say, well, he did a lot of screens, and he did a lot of screens. I think if you're going to do this, if you're going to,
you broke up. He likes to do a lot of screens.
Okay. He likes to do a lot of screens and bubble screens. Okay. So if I'm this, and again, this all comes down to what is going to happen with the coaching staff and what we're going to see from management. Because from what I've seen from management so far, it doesn't give me any type of courage going into the season. But that's my personal opinion on it. But here's the deal. What did we see? What worked with Russell Wilson? It was the quick passing game. It was getting the ball out quick, and it was getting those bootlegs. Like we said all season long. Okay, we weren't these off-season warriors that came during the off-season and started doing their usual bullshit. We said it all throughout the season.
Well, we provided film. We provided film on it.
Yeah, we didn't hide under a rock. Okay, like these off-season warriors like to do. Now, what I think that Sean Payton needs to incorporate with that is a lot of bootleg passes. Also, do those quick passes, especially those quick bubble screens. But again, do we have receivers that can block? Again, that is why the player personnel doesn't stack up to what he had, and that is what gives me pause. It's because if you're going to do those bubble screens with receivers blocking, you don't have receivers that are elite blockers. If you're going to do that, you need receivers that are good, solid blocking receivers. And McCaffrey's, Rod Smith's, the guys over in Seattle, the guys in New Orleans, the guys that can block. So, again, if you're going to do this successfully, you need to do a lot of bubble screens. You need to find a running back.
New England in its heyday with
yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, yeah, I'm just saying, yeah, New England. Yeah. So if anybody comes here thinking, he's going to start running the Saints, I honestly think that he's got to get staff that offensively reflects Russell Wilson. He's going to have to get somebody there's got to be a voice of reason in there about these lines. There has to be.
And that's the difference with the Saints specifically. I'm sorry for interrupting you, but again, you had that with Ireland and Mickey Loomis. They were the voice of reason that trickled down to the coaching staff that said, hey, we need to get line-centric people, get offensive linemen that fit your system, Sean Payton. We need to go get those power gap guards, the Andrew Peets, the Eric McCoys, the Cesar Reeves. We need to get the pass blocking tackles with the Ryan Ramczyk, with the Tariq Armstead. You need to get that. But my fear,
way to go to get that.
Yeah, I know, and that's my fear is, ladies and gentlemen, you think going out in free agency and getting an offensive lineman here or there is going to fix your problems. That is not what you do. When you're in player personnel, and if you're a stable organization, you do not go pick a Ron Leary here, a Graham Glasgow here, a Juwan James here, a Malik Watson, a Menelik Watson, a Donald Stevenson, an Alan Barber. You have to get offensive linemen that fit your system. You can't go get a West Coast zone run agile guard, a power gap guard, a pass blocking center. You need to get everything that is aligned there. And that's my fear. I don't think the Denver Broncos have the mentality, nor do they have the resources to do that.
Yeah. I just, you got a big contract, dude, but man, you are way behind the 8 ball more than you think. And like, Nathaniel Hackett realized once he was at OTAs, what do we say? Oh shit!
Yeah.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Shit moment.
And he said that he lost the political war in Denver too.
That's we were going to see if we in the contract we get this. Has all say. We'll wait for those words to be put out there on his contract.
Yep.
By the way, on this contract, it's definitely a bribe. He's going to be making, even though it's, let's say on the minimum on the books it's 17 million, he's going to be making between 20 and 25 million between books and off book money. And it's well established and well known that these coaches like Bill Belichick make a whole lot of money. I think Belichick is like getting 12 million, but he's worth 20 million, something like that. You're going to see the similar deal here. It was a bribe. It was a bribe all the way to get, and that bothers me too. It's just like when we go out and get players that just want the money, and then we've seen it so many times, then they don't do shit when they're here. That's the same thing I fear that's going on here. We're going to see Sean Payton doing the yeah, A+ move, front office, A+ move. It's the greatest organization ever. A+ move, Rob Walton, they're the best. A+ move. Platitudes all over the place, like we got with Russell Wilson. I just get that sneaky feeling that I think the Shanhan deal going to Washington had more going for it, in my opinion, than what this has going. This thing could really, really blow up as another big splash move. My prediction is this: at the end of the day, if Sean Payton doesn't come here and completely reinvent what he was doing in New Orleans here with Russell Wilson, if he thinks this is going to be Drew Brees 2.0, I'm going to tell you right now, I think that what will be said when this is all said and done, in the NFL, you just can't buy your way into greatness. You have to do it the old-fashioned way. Start with the ownership, go to the GM and the head coach all in sync, and build, develop, and do the hard work it takes to get an organization that has its shit together versus somebody who thinks that splash moves, band-aids, quick fixes, yesterday's used to be's is going to bring you instant success.
Well, what do I always say? What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And we've been seeing that for 8 years. Mm-hmm. And again, what gives me pause is the whole player personnel and the schematics of this whole thing, because it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. It never did.
never made any sense from what Sean Payton wants to do and what Russell Wilson is good at. It doesn't mesh well. Just like when you guys want to bring in Vic Fangio and James Marilat wants to run him out of town, and then Mike Munchak doesn't even fit a multi-power run spread concept offensive line schematics scheme at all. He doesn't fit that at all. And again, from what Sean Payton ran in New Orleans, to me, it sounded like he ran a 4-3 under defense. So again, I mean, what are you going to run in Denver? Are you going to stick with the 3-4 system, or are you going to switch to a 4-3 system? Again, it's more questions.
Are you going to do that hybrid nonsense that
never
worked? Yeah.
We saw that with the Broncos offense. They put in Pat Shurmur concepts. They put in the West Coast concept. I mean, it doesn't correlate to anything. There's more questions than answers, in my opinion.
Correct.
Out of this whole thing, and it just, people can be excited, people can be ecstatic. I like Sean Payton. I do, as an offensive mind. I'm not going to sit here and deny that he's not a really good. I love listening to him. I think he knows his shit, obviously. But again, I would have felt more confident like this man if he came here under the Bridgewater, and you had the draft capital, and you had the money,
everything. Yes,
you had everything aligned.
You gave him an ability to do something. I do not believe I believe he's in a sandbox. That he can't get out of his sandbox. I took the money. Okay, I'll try to make everything in this sandbox work. Okay, I'll try to make it work. But instead, what we wanted is, like, if you're going to come here, let's give him all the resources available. No cap, without the albatross. Well, you can give it a quarterback that was on his system and took him to the playoffs. And go ahead.
I'm sorry. And then, but again, let's correlate this to management, because we talk about Mickey Loomis and Jeff Ireland. You could have brought Jeff Ireland over. He could have been your assistant GM or whatever. He could have been your GM.
Well, you got paid.
And then you could. I know. If you were a stable GM, and then okay, then have Jeff Ireland be your assistant GM under George Payton. Have him to be the director of college scouting, like he is. In New Orleans.
Our source over at Saints Country said that he may be able to talk Ireland over.
I would be so ecstatic, but again, I have to put pause, because I'm going to know if these are Jeff Ireland scouted players, because there's a track record of the players that he wants. Yes. And there's a track record of the players offensively and defensively on the defensive line that he covets. So I'm going to know if they get Jeff Ireland, I'd be over the moon. I love Jeff Ireland. But again, what brings me pause is I don't believe he's going to have say on the type of players that he wants. He might bring it to the table, be like, hey, this guy out of Louisiana Tech is an offensive lineman, as a power gap guard. Or got something like that, and then they're like, no, we don't want to do that. We want to go get a tight end or an outside linebacker. Again, I'm going to know the players that Jeff Ireland doesn't get and the players that he wants, because there's a track record.
If that even happens.
Yeah, if that happens. Yep.
If that even, because these other platforms will never talk about Jeff Ireland. They have no clue of that at all.
I don't give a shit about the other platforms. I don't listen to them.
I'm just saying that if you want information that actually makes any sense, you come here. If you want sunshine and rainbows blown up your ass, and that's the end all be all for you, you're not going to want to be here. Again, we're talking GM centric stuff. We're talking, the crux of what an NFL team needs, how to build it, do it correctly, and minus the hype. So I just want to put that out there. That's why we do what we do. We ask the critical questions, the tough questions. We look at it and analyze it. And, if it stinks to high heaven, we'll tell you. If it looks good, we'll tell you. So I'm very, very skeptical of what, the fact that he's already so hamstrung coming here, just the way everything is. Oh, what about this? Can Sean Payton talk Russell Wilson to restructure his contract. This was brought up too with the Saints insiders. They were wondering, Saint insider, wondering, can Sean Payton get Russell Wilson to restructure his contract, to move some money or cap around? That's going to be an interesting question too. To help the Broncos like they did, like Drew Brees helped. But that means, you know what? They're going to have to kick the Russell Wilson can down the road. So it's going to be interesting if Sean Payton can get him to restructure a contract, to bring in some free agents if that's possible. I think that's going to be an interesting, tell-all.
Yeah, you said it all. I think that's a perfect way to summarize it. Again, what gives me pause, and I'm going to continue to reiterate, is what scheme are they going to run? And the player personnel. The player personnel still gives me pause, and the mismanagement in that organization gives me pause. Just because you got Sean Payton doesn't mean he's going to wave a magic wand and all your problems are going to be fixed. Because we heard that last year with these off-season Warriors that he was going to take us to the playoffs. So happy to be there. I don't want to be happy to be there. I want to be a consistent winner in the NFL. I want to be a dynasty-esque organization again. I don't want to be happy to be there like the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Chargers. I want to be that franchise. I do not want to be that franchise. And unfortunately, the franchise I'm seeing right now, I don't think they know what they're doing. And that's my personal opinion on it.
Well, yeah, and how much is Payton even going to be able to do? I want to bring up Mike Shanhan in with the Redskins. They got themselves in a similar situation with the Broncos where they had no cap space, and they had to liquidate. And I'm wondering, can Sean Payton liquidate a lot of players that really should go, like Shanhan did 4 years after he arrived in Washington? And he self-admitted that, yeah, we overpaid people. This team has people that are overpaid. They need to move players, in my opinion.
Yes.
They cannot think that things are going to change with this sandbox that they have. You cannot change out players. You're stuck with what you're stuck with.
You need to get rid of players like Graham Glasgow. You need to get rid of players like Cushionberry. You need to get rid of players like Justin Simmons. You need to get rid of players like Ronald Darby because he's making a buttload of money. He is. You need to get rid of players like that have such a big cap strain to the organization.
Yes.
That get rid of those players, and you need to start liquidating players that actually fit this system. Because I hear it all the time. Well, coaches need to put players in the systems. They need to fix the systems that fit them. I understand. I don't get that at all. The problem I have is you have a team like the Philadelphia Eagles, for example, that their whole identity is offense and defensive line centric. Their whole identity is getting the ball out, spread concepts. Jalen Hurts fits that. I would love if they were able to restructure the contract with Russell Wilson. I would be so fucking ecstatic about that. But again, the reality is,
and do something with it, and really actually do something.
Yes. Do
flashy
something
moves that actually make sense.
Yeah, actually do it right. We don't need to have splashy moves to be a successful NFL team. You don't need to be. I didn't see the Eagles make splashy moves. I don't see all these other teams that are top tier teams making splashy moves. No, a lot of them are doing it the right way. And I want the Broncos to get back on track. Can Sean Payton get that John Elway stench out of there?
Yeah.
Only time will tell. Only time will tell. But again, I just, what gives me pause is the whole thing about what Sean Payton wants to bring over offensively and defensively and the player personnel on this team. Because there's a reason why we went 5-12 and 1-6 in our own division. And that brings me pause. There's a reason why for 8 long years now that we have the off-season Warriors every off-season saying this team is just this way, and they're not. Can we please just stop? Can we please just be in the approach where it's the wait and see approach? Because that's where I'm at now. Wait and see approach. Can we just please just sit there and be like, let's wait and see. Let's see what's happening moving forward, because I want to see the assistant coaches that he brings in, and I want to see what they do with this team. Are they going to get rid of players like Justin Simmons? Are they going to restructure contracts like Garrett Bowles and Russell Wilson's? Are they going to get rid of players like Glasgow, Cushenberry?
Well, let's talk about Draymond Jones, since you got the bump. Just Draymond is in no universe as J.J. Watt or who Aaron Donald or Chris Jones. He's nowhere in that universe. Okay, but we will say this, because hold on a second. Go ahead. We will hold on a second. This is what we will say. If the coaching staff decides to go a 4-3 direction, goes a 4 direction, now we can start talking more about Draymond Jones. Gregory, I'm still not high on the pick, even in a 4-3. I think it's way too much better. You know, that's another guy, in my opinion, they could get rid of too.
Yep.
Too much of that again, that mismanagement stench that's been lingering around. And look, Justin Simmons he's up for a Walter. All this off-field stuff. That's wonderful. We need on-field. This has got to be on-field. We need on-field. I don't need another spokesperson, okay? We got enough media. We've got enough media as it is. And you know what? If I owned a network, I'm just being honest with you, I absolutely would hire Justin Simmons as a top guy in front of a camera talking about football. He's a personality, okay? A absolutely great TV personality kind of guy. He'd be my number one pick to be in front of a camera. But as far as a player on the field that needs to get the job done, no way. The guy's got to go. The guy's got to go.
And again, Draymond Jones in a 4-3 wide 5-tech hand in the dirt, a la what Gregory was in Dallas and at Nebraska. Again, you can utilize that. And also, Baron Browning as an off-ball linebacker. Are you kidding me? I mean, dude, you again, I think that this player personnel could fit I think if you could get some 4-3 player personnel, I think it can correlate to a 4-3 defense more than a 3-4 defense.
Because it's up so much.
Yeah, yes, exactly. But then you can go, Draymond Jones can be your wide 5-tech. You can have, instead of being an outside linebacker, you can move him into an off-ball linebacker role and have him be a coverage-centric linebacker. Again, okay, this is another perfect example. Where did Alex Singleton come from? A 4-3 defense. You could put him as the other off-ball linebacker. Again, there are pieces in there that you can turn this into a 4-3 defense. Now, if they're going to bring back Ejiro, I don't think he's coming back. He might come back. I don't think he's coming back.
He's a 3-4 guy.
He's a 3-4 guy.
I don't think he's. That's what's going to happen for sure.
Okay. So again, if they're going to bring somebody over that has 4-3 under principles, oh my God. I mean, dude, that might give me a little bit more excitement there, because then if you want to bring back Draymond Jones, I wouldn't overpay for him. But if you want him to primarily be your Marcus Davenport and your Cameron Jordan, not saying he's those players, but that can be that. Then you have a DJ Jones on one side. You can go get a guy that's another. You can go get a Javon Hargrave or whatever and put him next to DJ Jones. There's your push up the middle. Then you have your off-ball linebackers. Then again, I just think that this defense is much suited for a 4-3 defense than a 3-4 defense in my personal opinion. Yep.
Player personnel. That would be interesting. And what did Sean Payton run? Or
what was 4-3 defense?
He ran a 4-3. Exactly. And that's going to be another question too.
Yes.
But I think what it really comes down is again, cap space. Can you bring Ireland in to really start plugging holes that need to be? Can you liquidate player personnel?
Yes.
And are you going to just really look in the mirror, Sean Payton, and realize I cannot run the Drew Brees system here. It just can't happen. I get on the phone with Pete Carroll. I mean, I'm sure he would talk to you and say, look, give me some, anybody that worked with him, that's the direction you need to go. It ain't New Orleans. It's Seattle.
Now, this is where I will counter that, and this is where I could disagree with you on something. If they're going to take out the spread concepts and run that multi-power run system with Javonte in between those A and B gaps, then you got something. I think if they stick with that multi-power run, they run the ball more than they throw it. They get those easy passes, those drag routes in the middle of the field. They get those easy passes like we saw this season, those easy routes to Russell Wilson to Reed. Then you can get those bootleg power run out there. If you run that multi-power run system, I think that you might be able to have some success while Russell Wilson's here. But if you're going to put that over with the spread concepts, I don't think it's going to work. I just don't think it's going to work. But if you stick to the multi-power run concepts, you go get guards and you go get the center, left guard, and right guard. I think Quentin Miners is a lock. I love Quentin Miners. But again, if you go get a left guard and a center that are power gap centric guards, you might have something. And you go get tackles that, like you said, a Ryan Ramczyk. Not saying there's a lot of Ryan Ramczyks out there. You can't go get one now because you don't have a first or second round pick. But there are players in this draft that you can find offensive linemen, and you can. You know what we need to start doing? We need to start developing players that fit a scheme as well.
Well, there's where we are. That's where we are. We don't have an identity. Sean Payton, I guess this is the crux of what we're getting at. Sean Payton has got to determine what this identity is going to be. Yeah. Period. Yeah. Story. We're not mishmeshing. And it better be, as you said, well, what it better not be is any spread type concepts, in my opinion, too. Because for the simple fact, he cannot read the field. He's not going to be going through reads ever. You got to give him that, maybe 2 reads is the best he can do. He's going to go for that first read. You better build off that in my opinion, handicap. That handicap. Maybe he does it better than other people, in that regard. But he's not Brees. He's not going to be going through progressions and stuff like that. So there's no reason to flood the field with receivers. It just doesn't make any sense.
No.
Doesn't make any sense.
No.
Make it easy for them as you can. The running game, that to me is going to be interesting too. I don't want to see empty backfield sets.
No, you do not. That goes directly to the spread principles. You do not want to have empty back sets.
No.
Now listen. I wouldn't mind having a spread concept here and there in terms of if you're going to do a bubble screen, but again, you need to get receivers that can block. That's if you're going to do the spread concepts, if you're going to do bubble screens, and if you're going to do stuff like that, again, this goes to the receivers point. You need to go get receivers that can block here. You cannot go get Portland Suttons and Jerry Jeudy's that can't block. They can't.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. Maybe also they need to liquidate Cortland Sutton as well. Maybe that's another liquidation that needs to happen as well.
Yep.
So, I want to see all this stuff. I want to see how all this stuff pans out. And I'm not going to take, if it turns out like, we're here to stick with these same things and mishmash. If I see a continuation of 8 years with Payton just nodding his head, yes, I'll work with this sandbox. There's nothing else I'm going to do. I'll try, and also if I see that with that, I'm going to try. He's Brees. I swear I'll make him into Brees. Then I know we're done. I know it's over at that point.
Yep.
Well, that's all I have.
That's all I have too.
Okay. So wait and see.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. A wait and see approach. And I will be giving this guy material on the, I like I said, I'm really exhausted. I went and looked at stuff last night. I mean, you're not going to get this anywhere else. Okay, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, you're not going to get this guy should be getting paid to be doing all this. And I say analytic in the sense of film analytics.
Subscribers, I don't ask for views. I just want the truth to be out there. And at the end of the day, nobody's going to be doing what I'm doing in terms of looking at the film, looking at concepts, looking at detailed concepts like that. All they're going to talk about is how this team's a Super Bowl head coach away.
This is why it's important when I say, if you want the sunshine, the rainbows, the cheerleading session, go somewhere else. If you want the film, want the facts, want the hard work, you come here and then make up your own mind. What you think?
Yes. Yep.
So I'm expecting to see Sean Payton do more than just work in a predetermined set sandbox.
Yep.
All right. Is there anything else? Looking
Nope.
forward to your film review. I'll post it. Take your time, and then we'll get it going.
All right. I'll talk to you later.
And I don't think we're going to have any. Really, there's no sense in until we can start seeing what he's doing. There's really no. I don't think we're going to have another film session until we see what he's doing or not doing.
Well, again, I want to see what he says at the press conference. I want to see the assistant coaches that he brings in. I'll probably do some videos.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Until that time, that's part of what he's doing and not doing. What he's saying and what he's not saying.
Yep.
Now, I better not get. Oh yes, front office. You did everything correct. This sandbox gave me. We're just we're a super. Remember what Nathaniel Hackett said at his very first press conference. They asked him, "Is this team playoff bound?" He's like, "Whoa, time out. I ain't going there." He was smart to do that.
And then they canned him after 1 year.
Of course. Well, we'll see if there's still games going on at the front office. We'll know that. If anybody's on top of that, me and you've been on top of that for years. So
yeah. Yep.
No more reindeer games. Okay.
All right. You take care, Chop Liver.
You too, Coach. I'll see you.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.